What's up there, Brotherhood? This is the Federation here, and I've got the final one of Venansula's battles that he sent me. It's going to be Galatia versus Pontus. And so Venansula is using, let's take a quick look at this build because it's about to skip this screen. And this is what Pontus is using, so that means I won't have to waste time going over the build in the battle. But I do quite like the build Venansula's gone for. It's a very no-nonsense build. He's going to go right for the throat, no dallying about. And that's kind of how barbarian factions are, which is why I think that they are the most fun factions to see in games, because there's no way to just sit behind your pike line and rely on an elephant charge to win the game. You've got to be aggressive. They also don't have the high-quality slingers that would allow you to play a kind of defensive game, so you definitely have to go pretty much all out and wipe out the opponent before they kill you, which is a fun way to play. But anyways, like in our last battle, the opponent of Venansula is using chariots, which, as I mentioned in the last video, is incredibly difficult for barbarian factions to deal with. Clearly Pontus has their chariots hidden right now, I would assume in the woods, but barbarians just don't have the kind of heavily armored units that can really trap a chariot. The best way to deal with them is pikes, or like an armored legionary in 8 deep ranks, or cataphracts, which obviously barbarians have none of. But you found a way to deal with them in the last game, and I assume he will again. So there they are, coming out of hiding. And Venansula is going to kind of probe with his noble horse on either flank. He's got 3 of them, which is a pretty significant investment in those. But they are definitely a very powerful cav unit. So Pontus has realized that if he runs back into the woods, he's going to get caught anyways. So probably his best way out is to attempt to run through these noble horse. Or maybe he just decided it would be a great idea to attack noble horse head on. I don't really know what Pontus is thinking, but he's going to go for that. And these chariots are going to get in a bit of trouble, because when you get stuck in a noble horse, there's not too much you can do with chariots, and when chariots stop moving, they become very vulnerable. So we're taking a look at them getting hit in the back, and they're starting to drop, so they probably could have been used a little bit better, but over here, the fight is going to continue, and so these noble horse are going to come into combat with noble blood cav, and Venansula realizes this just in time and is able to micro them effectively to get the charge, which is very important for barbarian factions. All of their units have a very high charge bonus. Even though those are melee cav, they have a 43 charge bonus. These Galatian legionaries have a 28 charge bonus. Even their spears have only a 15 charge bonus. But in general, yeah, these naked swords 29. Definitely barbarian factions are all about shock, the charge, routing units quickly. And so Venansula is trying to make maximum use of that. So he's got counter-cavalry tactics with his spears involved in this cav fight, and that should give him a pretty definite edge. And see, this is the downside to a pike faction. While all the action is going on the flanks, Pontus can't really be aggressive, because pikes aren't meant to be aggressive. And so if he moves over this way, he exposes the backs of his pikes to this side, and if he moves over to that side, he's got the opposite problem. If he splits up his forces, he's only got 3 pikes over here, and he leaves himself open to an attack through the middle. So he can't really do anything when he's got a pike line to rely on. So Venansula's splitting up to either side gives him a good ability to beat this kind of tactic, which has become very popular in competitive games, is just to make a cheap pike line and hide behind it with skirmishers, because it works. But there are ways to beat it. So as we see, Venansula is getting his naked swords and a noble cav into this noble blood cav. They are going to lose that fight pretty heavily. He's also going to back it up with a Galatian legionary, so he's just several times throughout this battle isolated individual Pontic units and given them a good bit of trouble. And that's a great way to win. If you can keep isolating the enemy's units, and you can get a local advantage in other places while keeping a lot of their units inactive, you're going to win. Because you'll win each individual fight and keep taking down 1 or 2 units here and there, And as you do that, you're losing very little. So when it comes to the final big engagement, you've just got more units than they do because they've already lost all of theirs. So he's going to start finding cracks between the pikes and use his superior micro to get in them. And as he does this, he's going to wipe out the entire Pontic center. He's basically going to gut the Pontic army. And without their skirmishers, they really don't have a chance, because the entire point of having this cheap line of pikes was to protect the skirmishers. Cheap pikes can't really get too many kills on their own unless you charge directly into their front. So Venansula is going to take advantage of times when pikes are down to get naked swords into the back of this bronze shield pike. And although all of these guys are going to die instantly on the front, seeing as these naked swords have no armor, he's still cutting up this bronze shield pike from the back. And he's going to take advantage of the fact that these levy pikes have to face frontally to deal with the naked swords, to use his Galatian legionaries to rout that pike unit. Over here we've got him using his superior numbers to cause Pontus more difficulties. Definitely just forcing these pikes to turn this way and that, and then hitting them from the side they're not facing. He's going to keep these Scythian horse archers distracted with his Celtic skirmishers, who are undoubtedly out of ammunition at this point. So for Venansula, that's just a delaying tactic that allows him to keep these Scythian horse archers from back charging for at least a little bit longer. And as all of this is happening, Pontus is trying to be aggressive with his pikes, but it doesn't really work. You can see these Galatian legionaries are losing very few men despite this bronze shield pike, an 820 talent unit, having a direct attack order on it. So that's Pontus's weakness, is that at this point in the game, they don't have any units they can be aggressive with. They've lost their skirmishers. Their skirmish cav are out of ammunition. This Eastern Javelin might have a couple of javelins left, but their pikes can't push. And so you're going to see a lot of this, where just the bronze shield pike is being hit in the back. This bronze shield pike is trying to move to get into a more aggressive position, but as it's doing that, it raises its pikes, and that means it can be killed by these Galatian legionaries and just surrounded. You can see these Scythian horse archers are trying to do something useful, but look at their melee stats. Like, even with a back charge, they're not going to do very much damage. They're on 72 kills now, and as they charge into a Galatian legionary, they're only on 74 kills. And even though that number is going to go up a little bit, they're just not going to be the kind of unit that's going to cause any damage. They're only meant for skirmishing, and after that, they're basically useless. So there's still one bronze shield pike over here and one over there that are posing somewhat of a threat, but with the number of units Venansula has left, it's pretty easy for him to just get around them, force them to turn around, and as soon as they expose a flank or back, they're in trouble. So he's just going to keep cutting down these bronze shield pikes with Galatian legionaries, and even though these aren't going to die as quickly as levy pikes, since they are a high quality unit and have the incorrigibility and all of that, they're certainly not going to last for too long against rear charges by much superior infantry. So these Scythian horse archers are charged into spears over here and were then wiped out by Galatian legionaries. And he's just got this one remaining unit of Eastern Javs and this bronze shield pike, which are both wavering. And it looks like Venansula has wrapped this up very nicely. So with a bit of micro and a bit of isolation of his major threats, Venansula was able to take a build that probably shouldn't be beating this Pontic build and made it work for him. So well done to Venansula. I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing his battles commentated by me, and I will see you next time.